Hello friends, welcome to the channel. In this video, I am going to discuss about the basics of Java programming language. Before that, I want to introduce the founder of Java programming language. He is James Gosling. He has created the Java programming language. Okay, let us start with the basics of Java programming language. What is an object-oriented programming language? In object-oriented programming, we talk everything in terms of class and object. What is an object? First we see what is an object. Any real world entity that we see is an object. If you take school and if you want to develop some application for school, what do we see? Students, right? Students, teachers. Okay. Ram and Rajesh or students in the school. So Ram is one object and Rajesh is one object. In the same way, teachers Sita and Geeta. So Sita is one object and Geeta is one object. What exactly is object? Object means state and behavior. See, if we take students, every student has name, right? And every student has some student ID. These are the attributes of object, isn't it? Attributes is nothing but properties. So let us write the value for this attribute. Ram is the name of one student and ID is say 10. So this is called state of the object. Okay. If we populate the values for the other student, what is going to be that Rajesh is the value for the attribute name and 20 is the student ID for the attribute ID for Rajesh, right? For Rajesh. So this is called the state of the object Rajesh. So state is nothing but the values for the attributes of the object. Okay. What is behavior? Get name is the behavior for student object. When somebody calls get name on the Rajesh object, the name of the student, which is Rajesh, is going to be returned. Okay, if somebody calls get student ID on the object Rajesh, it is going to return what is the student ID of Rajesh? 20. Okay, so this is for the behavior of the object. So state means the values for the attributes like name and ID. If we populate them, this is called the state of object. And what is the behavior? In Java, we represent the responsibility of the object. What is the responsibility of the each object? When we call get name, it is going to give the name of the object. Name of the object in the sense, what is the name of the student? And if we call get SID, we are going to get 20. Okay, this is the responsibility of the responsibility of the object is to give the appropriate value from the object. Okay, in Java, we represent the responsibility of the object or behavior using methods. Okay, in the coming videos, we are going to discuss details how to write a class, how to write the object, and all those things. Okay, so we have discussed what is an object, but this is all in real world. In Java, if you want to represent the state and behavior for an object, you have to define or create a class. Say if I want to represent student objects. Before that, I have to write class. In Java, class is used to define what is the state and what is behavior. State means the values of the attributes. Let us define attributes. Say every student is going to have student ID, isn't it? And every student is going to have some name. Forget about this. These are called data types. We will discuss in coming session. So these are attributes of every student object. So class is used to represent the attributes of the object. When we are going to create the objects, what does my object is going to contain? We specify through student class. Then we have to create the behavior through method. When somebody calls get name, so this is called method in Java. In the coming videos, we are going to discuss what is public, what is void, and all those things. For now, you can think a method as the responsibility of the student object. If somebody calls the get name, it is going to return the student ID of that object. If somebody calls, sorry, this is get name, right? So it is going to return the name of the object. In the same way, get student ID. What does it do? It is going to return the student ID of that object. We have already discussed it, several objects. 10 and say the object, this is a Rajesh object. The student ID is 10 and his name is Rajesh. If somebody calls get student ID method on the object, it is going to return 10 from the object. In the same way, if somebody calls the method get name on the object Rajesh, it is going to return Rajesh. So these are the attributes. And if we populate these values, like here, I have populated what is the student ID, what is the name. So this is called my object, and this represents state. Okay. The responsibility of student. What is the responsibility of the student object? If somebody calls get name, it should return Rajesh. And if somebody calls get student ID, it is going to return the student ID. So these are called behavior. In Java, we represent behavior through methods. These are called methods. This is one method and this is going to be another method. Let me show you how to. I'm going to discuss in detail how to write the class, but for now, just see how does it look, the class. Okay, this is the class and these are the attributes of the student objects. So every student is going to have student ID, student name. These are called data types and these are called access modifiers that we will see in coming videos. These are called behaviors. In Java, we represent behavior through methods. If somebody calls get SID, it is going to return the student ID of that person. In the same way, if somebody calls get student name, this method, it is going to return the name. In the same way, if somebody wants to set the name or student ID into the object, we are going to call these methods. These get methods are called getter methods. This and this combined, we call getter methods. And the methods which we are going to populate the object with the attribute values, these are called setter methods. Don't worry about this. In coming videos, we are going to discuss in detail. We will discuss what is object-oriented system before wrapping up this session. Object-oriented system. In object-oriented system, say we have several objects. we have a bank object, we have customer, okay, we have student. Say we have several students, we'll say Ramesh, okay, say customer, we will take one customer, Harish, and say some bank, okay, Allahabad Bank. These are all objects in object-oriented system. What is an object-oriented system? In object-oriented system, to achieve some functionality, the objects are going to invoke the behaviors from other objects. To achieve some functionality, all these objects are going to interact with each other. How they are going to interact? In every object, we have state and behaviors, isn't it? So if you take any bank, what are the major operations that we perform? Opening the account, closing the account. In banking domain, if you want to develop some application, so these are all the objects in banking domain. Ramesh, customer, okay. If this guy is wants to open the account, he's going to call the behavior open account. This is the behavior. In Java, behaviors are represented through method. So in object-oriented system, all these objects collaborate with each other by invoking methods from the other objects to achieve some functionality. This is called object-oriented system. So we have discussed what is a class, what is an object, and what is an object-oriented system. In the next video, we will discuss in detail how to create a class and how to create some objects like students and some customers. Okay. If you are visiting for the first time to the channel, please subscribe. And if you like it, share with your friends. Thank you so much.